Hey, I'm Taryn and I'm the Vaccine Mom. If you're interested in my credentials, head on over to thevaccinemom.com to learn more. If you haven't already, go back and look at part 1 of this part 2 history of vaccines series I'm doing, so that you'll know what went on earlier in Dr. Jenner's experiments with cowpox and smallpox. It's super interesting, and you won't know what's going on for this video if you don't go back and check it out. So here we are, starting in 1797. Edward has just gone through his first experiment with cowpox and smallpox and has made some interesting discoveries, and now he's sending on his findings to the Royal Society, and guess what? Just like what happens in science, they reject him. Well, you know what? Edward doesn't give up, and that's one of the best parts about Edward. So he starts adding more and more cases to his studies, and in 1798 he privately publishes his studies in what's sort of equated to an ebook today. So just like any good scientist, he keeps adding more and more, and one of my favorite things is he goes ahead and he names his procedure after the cowpox. The word for cowpox is Vaccinia, and then he goes ahead and he names his procedure Vaccination. So that's a name that we've kept today, which I think is really cool. Following Edward's publication, his ebook, as I like to call it, he went on to London in search for volunteers to be vaccinated with his human cowpox. So human cowpox is the matter taken from a human who has active cowpox and not taken from a cow with cowpox. So we use this matter in order to make another human immune to smallpox. And if you go back and listen to the previous video, part 1 in the part 2 series, you'll know a little bit more about what I'm talking about. So as far as volunteers go for this inoculation, nobody was really stepping up for this. They thought it was dangerous, they were unafraid, which is rightfully so. I get that. So unfortunately, many physicians and surgeons did not want Jenner to succeed. It's too bad. And then there was this whole anti-vaccination community, and this included those religious figures who really weren't into the fact that they were going to be inoculated with something that originated with cows. So although the matter wasn't coming straight from a cow, it did originate from a cow, so that was frowned upon at the time. Okay, so poor Jenner had a few hiccups along the way. One of his major problems was with delivery and just maintaining that matter from that human cowpox as he tried to transport it to other countries. Well, a lot of people were worried about this, and also rightfully so, because a lot of that matter was actually contaminated with smallpox, because they had a hard time trying to figure out if the person was actually infected with smallpox or cowpox sometimes. So sometimes it was contaminated and people were really scared, and completely understandable. Smallpox is a terrifying disease. But Edward found ways to improve on this, and he really did, and he kept persevering, and he kept gaining support from the medical community and those social higher-ups and royals. And because of this support, lots of other people started to get on board. He had volunteers, he had people waiting in lines. By 1799, the smallpox vaccination was a common practice across England, and in the 1800s, he had reached most European countries as well as America. In 1800, Edward got the vaccine into the US via this beautiful man here, Benjamin Waterhouse. He's a professor of physics at Harvard. Waterhouse gained support then from Thomas Jefferson here, who appointed Waterhouse as the vaccine agent in the National Vaccine Institute, which led to a national vaccination program here in the U.S. Even though Edward's popularity and backing by social and scholarly higher-ups, he stayed humble and made no attempt to enrich himself. He even built a one-room small hut behind the house he shared with his wife and 4 children. He called this the Temple of Vaccinia, where he vaccinated the poor for free. Through all of this, poor Dr. Jenner was really subject to attacks and ridicule. He got it from all angles, just like a lot of us do, and couldn't handle it. So it really took a toll on his private practice, his social life, his private life at home. So he really just became a recluse. Poor old Edward. After all the good he did, and he really did a lot of good, he really lived a rough life. In 1810, his oldest son, Edward, died of tuberculosis, TB, and his sister died that same year. And 2 years later, his other sister died, and 3 years later, in 1815, his wife, Caroline, died. In 1820, Jenner suffered a stroke but lived. On January 23rd, 1823, Jenner visited his dying friend, his very last patient. The following morning, Edward was found after having a massive stroke. That event killed him 2 days later on January 26th, 1823. It wasn't until 30 years later that vaccination with cowpox was made mandatory. Edward Jenner wasn't the first to discover that inoculation could prevent disease, or to link the fact that cowpox could create immunity to smallpox. He was, however, the first one to investigate it scientifically and keep on investigating. What really gave Jenner the name Father of Vaccination? Well, honestly, in my opinion, I think it was just his perseverance and devotion to making vaccines mainstream. He aided in our understanding of the immune system, and to this day, we still have so much to learn. It wasn't until later that we understood the importance of revaccination or boosters to help keep our immunity up. In the 1950s, the World Health Organization began its campaign to end smallpox. In the 1950s, smallpox was eradicated in many areas of Europe and North America. On May 8th, 1980, the World Health Assembly announced smallpox is dead. The world was free of smallpox. Here's the smallpox virus. We don't vaccinate against it any longer, but it doesn't mean the threat isn't there. Due to the threat of bioterrorism, the last 2 specimens of the smallpox virus are held in just 2 laboratories in the world, one in Siberia and one in the US. This disease is so destructive to the population that it's given higher security than the nuclear bombs. One day they plan to destroy it and wipe it from the face of this planet. You know, we have the ability to eradicate many of these diseases from our planet. And this amazing medical tool that Dr. Jenner gave us, vaccinations, can make it happen. And it's never going to happen unless everybody gets on board. I'm such a supporter of vaccine education. Please stick with me, and I'm going to continue to put out some really fun and interesting videos. So I'd love it if you could share, like, subscribe, and then come on over to my website and check out some of my writings. My website is thevaccinemom.com. Head on over there now and check out all the rest I have to offer. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.